Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Sunday, the 21st of July. Starting with the FTSE 100, which is still loyal to that rising trend channel from back in October. The nominal floor there around 81.45. Above that, obviously, we're looking for the line of resistance there from the end of May. That's currently around 82.85, and that is the range we have at the moment. If we do slip below 81.45, there's the risk of that red support line projection down to 80.70. Otherwise, we're looking for 83.71, last month's spike high that we had right at the start. Problem here is that we've got the 50-day line falling, and also we've had multiple RSI failures at the 55 level, and they're not quite able to get back above that. That is normally a leading indicator on the downside, so let's see whether this market can avoid rolling over. Onto the DAX, and here the picture is that we've got finally breaking the floor of that rising trend channel from back in September. The 18,300 level was the line in the sand, and below that we're looking for an obvious test of support down towards June lows just below 18,000. You see the RSI there failed after hitting the 60 level and is now well below the neutral 50 level at 43. 50-day line also falling as well, so that may be a leading indicator on what the FTSE will do next week. On to the Dow, and it had a stellar run after the Trump shooting, but it's come back to test support, and that's ideally going to be around the 40,000 level. Maybe the worst case at this stage is we've got to go down to the old June resistance at 39,600 and the floor of that rising trend channel from this time last year. Moving on to Bitcoin, where there are hopes and dreams of this market getting back onto the right side of 70,000. We obviously failed at that March resistance line there just now at 70,800, and that's our initial target while we're above the 50-day line at just under 64,000. But above 64,000 in the 50-day line, looks as though this market is ready to try and assault the highs. On to gold, and here we had also a decent run, but it's done a bit of a Dow in the sense that went to new highs and then pulled back quite sharply. The area that we're looking for support here now is around 23.70, the rising 50-day line, and that's basically the floor of that rising trend channel from back in December, but a bit of a sea change there over the last few days. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with one of our favorites, Avacta, which obviously gave the bears a punch in the nose after doubling since the middle of last month. We just missed the 200-day line on the first attempt, but looking for this market still to hit that 200-day line, currently around 87 pence, hopefully over the next couple of weeks, while we remain above the initial target we had here at 63 pence. Ideally, we stay above the top of that old February gap there at 67 pence. Next up is stock which looks as though it might be rehabilitating itself, BSF, and here obviously it's been a rather horrific bear run for the company, but we have had a gap close buy signal at the end of the week, so the last gap down there just the other week, and above that at 4.5, looking for at least a retest of 6 to 6.5 pence resistance, which is basically post-April resistance, but just the first signs there that there is a turnaround on its way. Blackbird's been one of the stars of the show in the recent past, and here we broke that line of resistance there around 4.25 pence. We had our initial target there at the 200-day line around 6.25. Next target is 8.25, which is a February resistance line projection, and best case by the end of next month would be up to 11 pence, and that new resistance line projection I've drawn on the chart there from back in September, but feeling pretty confident about this while we remain above the 200-day line at 6.25. On to Creightons, which has been a rather unusual addition to our bulletin board heroes. We had a gap close buy signal on Thursday above 21 pence, and we've been looking for up to 29 pence over the next few weeks. In fact, one could probably upgrade the upside, as I have done with that purple line there. Best case scenario here is up to 42 pence by the end of next month, while we remain above the 200-day moving average at 23 pence. Onto the Aquis market, just for one stock today, just to give that market hopefully a bit of a plug. Here we've got Good Life, and it's hit our initial target there at 2.25 pence, and looking for the shares to hit the highest levels up to as high as 3.25 pence by the end of next month, while they remain above the 200-day moving average at 2 pence. So that looking rather more encouraging, especially if we start getting that 200-day line on the rise. Moving on to a very fascinating looking chart at the moment with a massive V-shaped bull flag, and it's Mindflair. A bit like, I think, the Goldstone Resources chart, so spiking through the 200-day line and then coming back, but bouncing above it and then back up again. So that V-shaped bull flag, as I call it, could lead the shares to at least 2 pence or 2.1 pence over the next couple of weeks, while we remain above the resistance on the way down around the 1.2, 1.3 pence level. But ideally, we stay above the recent support and the 200-day moving average. Onto Optibiotix, where there was a feeling that the shares were about to turn around, and that feeling has worked from under 20 pence. Current situation, it looks as though we've got a bull flag there resting on old resistance around 20 pence, and initial target here was 26 pence, but now we're looking for up to 32 pence by the end of next month. That's obviously the main one-year resistance for this stock. On to Panther Metals with its ebullient CEO. Here we've got the shares bouncing off that rising trend channel from back in September. It's been we had a gap higher last month, and the bounce off the top of that gap there, which is a buy signal in itself at just under 88 pence. The view now is that the longer we stay above recent resistance at 93 pence, which looks quite likely, then we could head up to as high as £1.60 over the next 4 to 6 weeks. The weekly close above the 50-day line, quite a winner there as well. And the other point to note, I suppose, is that the 200-day line is rising quite nicely at the moment, near 92 pence. On to Roadside Retail, which I interviewed last week, and here it's making good progress after looking a little bit in a consolidatory mode. Here you can see that we've got the top of that channel there at 20 pence, the channel there from the beginning of the week, and we're looking for that by the end of next month or even sooner, while we remain above June resistance at 13 pence. SolGold is next, and even though the gold prices come back a bit, SolGold looks very encouraging indeed. We've got, we had an unfilled gap to the upside above a rising 50-day line. We've broken through the gap high day at 11.25. Initial target here, 13.4 pence, and then after that up to 18 pence, hopefully by the end of next month. But looking very encouraging indeed. Stock which hasn't been that encouraging in the recent past has been Surface Transforms, but looks like we're back in business after various gaps to the downside. An end of week close there above the rising 50-day line at 1.5 pence, and looking for up to 3.25 pence by the end of next month. If you look at the detail here, you can see that the shares fill that gap basically on Friday, that one up to 1.52, and also we had a false dawn during the week, which is makes it look even more convincing that we're going to head higher now on the second go. Ideally, we stay on the right side of resistance on the way down at 1.8 pence. On to Simec, which looks as though it's, say, limit up, but something like that. V-shaped bull flag breakout, and that was through 2.6 pence. The longer we stay above that, the greater the chance of not only what our second target there was, 3.2 pence, but also as high as 4.8 pence or 4.9 pence by the end of next month. So very encouraging indeed. See all those blue candles in the recent past, and as I said, ideally we stay above the 2.6 pence level. On to Tirupati, which seems to have overcome some of its woes in the recent past. We've been on this since the latest break through the rising 50-day line. Initial target here was up to the 8.3 pence level, and above that looking for as high as 12 pence by the end of next month. The ideal scenario here is that we stay above 7.25, the recent support, ahead of a move up to 12 pence plus. On to the last three. First one is a requested stock and one I would have put in anyway. I think I've already covered it in recent days. Here you can see UOG, United Oil and Gas, breaking through the 50-day moving average, a rising 50-day line on Friday and Thursday, and we're looking for our initial target here up to 0.29 pence. Next target there would be up to 0.43 in the 200-day line, hopefully by the end of next month. So it really looks as though the shares are turning there. Only back below the recent support, 0.18, really delaying the upside scenario. On to Versarien, where we also look as though we've got a bit of a turnaround, rather unexpectedly perhaps, but here you can see that the shares have managed to spend most of last week on the right side of the 50-day line. That 50-day line also starting to rise, and even though obviously we know that this stock has maybe one or two sellers in the mix, the best case scenario here would be a move up to 0.21 pence by the end of next month, while we remain above the 50-day line, and only while we remain above the 50-day line. You can see obviously we've had one or two false dawns in the recent past, especially back in March. Finishing off with Wishbone, which has also been in the wars, but trying to emerge from that. Here we can see that we've got, well, we had a good end of the week. We broke that resistance line there from back in May. That was around 0.66, and above that, looking for the 50-day moving average initially at 1 pence. That's probably about as optimistic as we could be given the recent history of the shares. That's it for me today. More updates during the week.